I'm going to start doing the chart and analysis for the August 22nd Globex session and take a lens at what we might expect for tomorrow's trading session during New York. So I'm going to show you here, this is the 1D bar chart for the year, for the past couple months. And you can see here in the tan box, this is a really pivotal level for this uptrend or this retracement play since August 5th. So once this formation settled here, or even the lower pivot, we had ourselves a zero here for the August low. And if we use the prior high here from July, that's basically our monthly range. So you can see here today and even overnight, the market sat around 882. If you look at the 1D close here, it never got past that 882. And that little wick over here is the weekly 1272 extension. So here in the gray box, if you take a range here, that would be pretty much our 1272. And the market kind of crept over by a little bit in pre-market off the jobs data at 8:30. So I'll scan into the 15-minute chart. We might see that better. But basically, this is a very wide butterfly harmonic pattern. I mean, whether or not you think there are patterns that happen, it's pretty systematic here. We are at very specific levels that the market is pivoting at here at 0.8 on the bottom, and then 0.882 at the top here. And basically, the big sellers are going to sit right there, the last man standing, kind of, so to speak, before it would come up here. And there's still some shorts here that might close. But if they were to close, this would just shoot up right past the prior highs and come to where there might be more stops up here at 57.90. So I think the market is not so bullish yet. So the participants who shorted here, sold here, are probably going to go down here now. Whether or not this harmonic pattern holds, sometimes a secondary retracement may come all the way down to this prior pivot. It may not happen in one day. It could happen in one day, but usually it does not. So if you look at September as a secondary retracement range, maybe mid-September, you could look for 53.88 as a possible touchback. I'm not sure that we get down there yet until we break below this 618 level for the year. For the month, and that's also the 118 level for the entire year. If we pull back, the 2-year range. So that blue box I have, if you pull up my yearly chart, if you're subscribed to the charts, that's the next kind of key support area. Really is this 4,500 level. So it's about 100 points away. We might get down to that eventually. For now, we're sitting right around this 764 level. So I'm gonna check that we're recording this properly. Yep, 764. So usually when it touches this high time frame monthly level, that's also the prior week high here, we get a bit of a pushback up, and you can see here, this is that other weekly high that was up here. So these two levels here, 5601 and below here 5580, we're probably going to sit here for a little bit and consolidate here until some larger players push it over either the prior high above here, or that prior weekly high, or push it back down into that prior week low. Basically, there's going to be a lot of volume sitting on either side of these prior highs. So this is a really key level here, the consolidation level. It may not sit there for very long. Once we have some news, it may trigger past it. I'm just speculating here. So let's work with that, and if we scan into our hourly chart here, and that's that 5601 and 5580. I'm just gonna redraw those boxes on this chart. That's pretty much this plane here. And if we look at that plane relative to this prior trading range, let's use the 15-minute here for a second. There's going to be a lot of stuff that shows up on the screen. I'm just looking at this prior pivot from 12:30. Basically, that top of that box without coincidence, just geometry. We have this 382 level that when we look for retracement, that's usually where, if we look at the book, that's usually where we'll find a large amount of sellers just sitting here. So it's, you can call that a new seller level. I usually just code it as a seller test to see whether or not they'll hold that price for continuation. And then at the bottom here, we have that that support that we saw today. So for those who didn't follow yesterday's session, pretty much our plan from yesterday panned out to the T. Here we have the orange box that we mentioned yesterday. That's the same box as we have here in 10. That was the very pivotal level to look at for shorts. I took some early shorts. I wasn't around for the morning play here, but that was the best place to get in here around the 60-60, and it crept over a little bit at the open. And basically the market came all the way down to an expansion of the prior day range. So if you look at the expansion of Wednesday's range and we project a 1618, it went right up to that level right here. Not sure if you can see, but I have the green box lined up with it. So between the 1618 and that monthly 768 right here, that's pretty much where the market stopped. Like you can often rely on those key time frames, the daily and the weekly to monthly, as places where the market will stop and turn things around, just to keep things in check. It doesn't deviate too quickly. So I put a circle here. Eventually got there late day. That 5583 had some single prints from Monday. And if we scan back, I'm going to look here in the 1 hour again. Scan back to Monday. I'm not sure if it's going to show up or not here. So that 5583 was pretty much this little crack right there. And volume imbalance, this doji candle that formed just before the pre-market, and it was probably a volume imbalance because we don't have the close covering either of these two bars. So if we scan in with a footprint chart, you'll see there was a large amount of imbalance sitting right here on the buyer side. Sorry, the buyers, so basically sell side. So once that got tapped, we see this bounce happen, and now we're at this junction right here. So if I go back to the 15-minute, this is right now, right now we're sitting in this little pocket of consolidation. So that's the same thing as these two highs. I'm going to just draw a line here and a line here. Those are the two prior, these are two prior weekly highs. So that was the last week's prior high, and this is the one before that. So we might get kind of this wedge formation until something happens, because there's going to be a lot of volume sitting at 5602 and a lot of volume sitting at 5583. So I'll pull up the book just to confirm that. But basically, that's what I have here as well. The 83 is not on this chart, but I'm going to draw it right now. Basically, I'm going to stick to the fibs because that has been very, very consistent. Like you saw this pullback right here. I had this other circle up top here in case it did extend outside of this range and go into the expansion of the prior day's range. I was pretty confident we wouldn't, but you never know, so I have those levels prepared. I took some shorts on these little blips along the way last night. If you remember, we charted the Goldbeck session using the last 4 hours RTH like we always do. And basically at the 882 level, I'm not sure if that's visible. I'm going to try to scan that out here. At the 882 level right here, there was a rejection. And at the 1.0, which was also the 882 of the full RTH session, so this is 882 right here, there were two pullbacks. So they're not very sizable, but it's very consistent, though, you'll see a little bit of pullback each time. So that was, if you add those up, that's about 6 points, and then you can keep doing that. The easier play was to take the long from the RTH VWAP, this yellow band right here. Once this harmonic formed, this is another butterfly harmonic. So if you were late for this, which I was, I just waited for the shorts here. I was not on my computer for this session here. And in the early part, you can see there was a rejection that we had suspected would happen right here at this 882 level for the last 4 hours. So that's why I put a gray box here, sort of the high from the prior trading range. So I'm going to draw the same boxes again for today's session with the last 4 hours, using the 12 o'clock to the 4 o'clock range. And we'll probably see a similar kind of reaction here at key levels. Yesterday it was the 382 of the last 4 hours. I'll just pull this box over so you'll see it a little bit better. Sorry, 0.5, and then also the 882 here. So it depends on where the market's been trading, where there are imbalances. So if we pull our lens to the current day here, this is still the 15 minutes, so it's kind of high time frame. I'm looking at this as the high here, which was the 50% retracement of yesterday. And then we have our low, which was right about here. Let me just gonna check. 5582.75. And I like to put this all the way to midnight as a range, because right around midnight that range starts to break out of this last 4 hours expansion range. So I'm going to draw this as a box. So maybe it's, I know there's a lot of stuff that's happening on the screen. So basically that's our last 4 hour range. So you can either use an indicator, or I just like to draw it basically. And you can hide everything else if it's cluttered, but that's what I use here. And usually that 382, when we have a sell-off, becomes a bit of a wall initially. So I like to put 382 and 0.5, basically 1 fib, in case it wicks over. It's not going to wick over 1 fib. And usually it's not going to wick over half a fib. So you put a midline there. And I'll usually code this blue because it's not quite a premium, but it's the middle zone. So, and I should have a preset for that. It's not quite a discount. Inside range, I'm just gonna call it wall for now, but I think I have another term for that. But basically the sellers will wait here. They'll try to hold it down. The sellers will come in on this EMA level. Once they lift orders, then you might see this come up to the 618, which is Monday's daily VPOC. So today's session, if we look at today's session, it's basically a retracement. See, I'm just gonna go here, of that big gap up from Monday. So this is that bar from Monday, or the box from Monday, and we didn't retrace 100% of it, but we traced all the way down to that 118 level, basically fixing that poor structure when we just had a huge gap up. So now we're almost balanced out, you can see here, and now we're facing a bit of resistance here at the EMA 100. Right here you can see this ribbon, and that's also the 0.3 retracement. So this will be a very key level. I'm not going to say it's going to hold for long, but I'm just going to put that there, just like it's kind of purpley orange. And if it does break past this level, then you could take a long here. But for now, you could try to scalp off this, because it may come back down to take out some of these initial buyers and consolidate here. So I'm going to label this last 4 hours. And I'm going to pause right there. So I have one level set up here. And you might say, okay, what might be other interesting spots to look at? Usually it will come back down to here, that 118, but it's not always the case. If it does a V shape, it might not. So I just put sweep here. It might happen. Possible sweep. And if it does break past this 82, then we got to watch out. This might go down quite quickly. So I'll put an arrow there for a risk. And usually, if on a big sell-off, if it does break this 82, then we might see it go down to this 0.272, and we'll check at the book to see what that matches up with. But that's basically the close for Thursday. So there's going to be a large volume node there. Thursday's VPOC. So the date, if I go back to the hourly here, this is the hourly for, and this is the week from last. We see this big gap up here, and then there's a retest here on Friday to come down here. So the close is right about here, so there's another gap right here that it may come down to. So on our Discord stream chat, Concierlo, sorry, asks when you mention orders being pulled or getting pulled. Bookmap order book. Yeah, you would see them right away on the L2 book. There'll be a big block, or more easily you'll see it on Bookmap. You can't really see it on the bar chart or footprints because that's showing you past data. So if I just pull up, this is my footprint. So I have ES and MES showing here. So here I just see the volume, the depth of map here, and they might be adding them all up. But we should see a really big bar here. Just, you can see this big gap between 90 and basically 86. There's nothing really there holding in place. So that's kind of a gap down. Then we see a lot of these, a lot of bits waiting here between 87 and 80. And then nothing really down until this 75. So the 75 here, if we go back to this chart here, 75 I believe matches up with this sweep, this 118. So those are probably stops. Sometimes I don't know why they're visible in the book, but some people like the front end that stop area to protect the position. So they might put market orders waiting there. So it's kind of a way to look. Okay, if it does sweep down here, there's some liquidity right before that. So we may see a sweep of this area later. I'm not sure what happened to this chart. This is the one I want to show you. So that 118. So this would be a very obvious sweep. If it does break this one, then we will come right down to 73 fairly easily. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of weeks ago we had that big sell-off. Maybe that was before August. We had that big bear of paw print thingy. So that was basically, this might end up being the same thing. This might be a wall, and then we get the volume from Asia. We might come right down to this liquidity to fulfill all those orders. So this is not really a discount area anymore because it's been tested a couple times. I would say this monthly fib area is an area to watch. So right here, there's like a million boxes now, but I'll put a gray one here. Not necessarily a neutral area, but a gray box. So a transition zone, let's say this is a really key monthly fib level right there. So we might see initially prior week high and the monthly zone. That's almost a yellow box. We use yellow to say that's kind of the breakdown and bounce zone. So that would be what, if it does come down here as a really important area to watch, you can take a short from there. But it's easier to short from the resistance wall right here and see if that plays out. And then above here, if it does get up top, well, it's not very clear where it could go there. If we look at the market structure here, there's a lot of imbalance right up to, but this is kind of a single print area because it went up and down very quickly. So we could see that this 764 area, which was currently the 5-day VPOC, it might come up to that 786, 768 area, which is around the EMA 50 for the 15 minutes. So I'm gonna highlight this. I don't know if we'll get there overnight, but that would be for me probably the absolute high tonight. Like it shouldn't get past that level. because you would need a lot of volume to unravel full day, and in Globex we don't get a lot of volume even though it's tied to Asia. So I'm going to put that as a premium, but it's unlikely. And then we could do the exercise for the rest of the day in New York, but this is what I would work with overnight initially, just to have our lens on this expansion area. This is like the full unwind of Thursday. We come down to this 1618 the last 4 hours. That's about Thursday IB high. So I would put this as a discount zone here. And then you can look again on the book here and on the footprints what's down there at 55.48. Well, 55.48 is we're just below where all these aggressive bids came in. These are all absorption buyers, and it continues down here. So there's quite a bit of liquidity down here. That's just showing prior deltas on the buyer side. So it could come down all the way to 42. There's a high volume node here, 43, if it does break through. And if you look at the high time frame, once again, that 43.5543 area is that key pivotal high 1 year 118 level. And just above the half fib here, just above this Friday overnight low area. Actually, it's just above the Friday close. So it's not unreasonable for retracement to go past, where we are right now, to go to 1 more day's imbalances here. So if I'm going to be biased, I think it may only happen around London or pre-market if it does continue to go down. I'm just going to check if there are any questions. No questions right now. So then basically that would be the range for Asia here, up to 56.18 area, and then keep a very close eye on this 55.87. If that breaks, very likely to come down to 55.73, and then below that it's really hard to tell. You just continuation play if it goes down here. For tomorrow, same thing like we did today. Today was pretty clean. We had the 1272 expansion of yesterday. This is the fib here for yesterday, I believe. Let me just remove this one here. And then once it touched that fib, we basically had a big reversal, right? And that's also that monthly time frame I just mentioned here. So once again, I'll go back to this day bar. It's a lot of time frames to track, but that's kind of on the days where we have the big reversal. It's because the market has reached that monthly time frame zone. So that's that 82 here. So it touched that. It touched the expansion of the prior day. I know there's a lot of stuff on this particular chart. What I can do is I can scan on this 15-minute, so it's a bit easier to see. So again, that's this. I'm gonna move this back a little bit here. So that's that 82 on the higher time frame, and then if we look at Wednesday's range, I'm just going to draw this fib here. You'll see the market came right to the tick to the 1272, or maybe not right to the tick, maybe a point off. And today was around 618 here. So usually on a continuation, we don't have two back-to-back 1618 expansions. That's a really high deviation for 2 days in a row. So if we take the same fib here and we draw it for the full RTH, and I'm just going to check to see if that's the right, that's 930. Yep. Usually we get a little bit of the retracement of that prior day. Oops. And we almost have that, but we don't have full 382. So this will be very informative if the price can get up to this level, what happens from here. And why that is when the price crosses the 382 for the full day, it will shoot up very quickly to the 618, or at the very least the 0.5. So that if it gets up here, it's then when the market becomes neutral again, and we'll have to wait for the market to come all the way up to the 5638 or the 5623 before there's any new sellers. They'll just let it go up. So this is a very key area to watch for tomorrow morning, not for today, for Friday. And then we should look at the options gamma data to know where things are heavy, to really get a handle. But usually they line up with the same spots that we're eyeballing, the same levels here. So I'm going to take a look at tomorrow as the 6.3 is possible premium area right here. And we should probably compare that with the book as well here, inside premium. Usually we don't have 100% retrace after we touch that high time frame level. So if we go back to the daily, there's a reason why the market pivoted right here was because of this whole rally. This was basically this rally was a retracement of this sell-off in July when the carry trade for the yen put a lot of pressure on equities and so forth. So then that basically caused the overvalued stocks to sell off quite easily. And now we just have some of that retracement to fix the price structure. And now we have the secondary leg. So sometimes this sell-off come all the way back down to B here, but I can't really tell on the high time frame how fast it happens. And then we can do this exercise, this same exercise you could have done on the 15-minute here. If we go back to a couple of weeks ago, the same thing happened here. There was another harmonic here. And once we had D, this came all the way back down to these prior double lows here. And you can see that happened in one day, basically. So yeah, not to belabor this, basically for tomorrow, we can draw, I'm not sure what happened to those levels. Basically for tomorrow, just draw the RTH again. I don't think there would be anything extremely unusual. Friday, so we should look at where the high gamma exposure will be. And that's where we're sitting here. I can't see exactly. I'll fix it to the T later on, but basically draw the fibs for the full day. And this particular chart that I'm showing has a lot of stuff. You don't need to have everything to get this done. Just need a fib and then you can draw the boxes. So I'm leaving this orange tan box, which is that yearly or monthly time frame. Just keep that on our lens as probably the high for this month. I think it's probably the high for the rest of this quarter because it would take a lot for us to get back to the high, all-time high. And here I'm looking at the 0.5, 0.7 as probably the absolute. I don't think we'll get above this 4-hour pivot, but that would be for me an area to short, to start being on the short side again. And then once again, this 0.32 last 4 hours happens to also be the 236. Usually the market on Friday will come back to this 3.2 if it's not bearish overnight. So like right here will be our consolidation area. We might finish around there, but we can take a look at the options chain. And that's the VPOC as well from Monday. So I've been keeping track of a different number of VPOCs, and you might see a lot of lines more than usual. It's because we have a few things in play. We have like different waves. The high time frame wave is this big move and then a retracement for this move. And then the shorter time frame move is basically we have Monday's move, which was not really put in check all that much. We came back to a little bit, but we have all this imbalance. So today we're coming back to that. We came back down to the VPOC for Monday and almost to sweep the bottom here. So I think snoozers are pointing out we didn't touch the bottom from Tuesday, and so we got to that today, and there's still that residual bottom here from Monday. Monday. So that's why I have here. If we do retrace, maybe we'll come back to retest this repop up here. And that's about it. I think those are the three areas to keep an eye on here. So overnight, just watch this wall. If it breaks, we'll come back up to the 5,615. If not, then we may come down to sweep this bottom area. And then this blue box on the side here, just a reference point. That's the two prior weekly highs. And I'll go back to that real quick here. Yeah, it looks like crazy. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, but basically we're just floating around these two highs right now. This high from last week and this high from that sell-off week, that huge sell-off week. And we squeezed past that to sweep these sellers, but it's nothing really surprising there, going up to this 882. So for now, it could do this type of wedge